Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Dennisha Denney will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you so much for watching Heart of Greenville. I asked Rob Moore to come on our show because I wanted to meet the man behind the microphone. We have all heard him on our local radio for the last 40 years. He has some really cool stories, but the thing I love about Rob is not only has he made a difference locally, he's made a difference nationally and abroad. Here's my conversation with Rob. Hey y'all, I'm Dennisha Denney, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we're sitting down at the Landmark on Lee Street, and I have a very special guest that I'm so excited to introduce to you, Mr. Rob Moore, who I just met in person. I've heard his voice for years on our local radio station, but now I got to meet him in person. So Rob, how are you today? And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm having a good time already so far. All the behind the scenes look at what goes into a program like this, and I'm anxious to get going and get into the meat of the program.
Well, that is so much fun for you to bring that up. There's so much that goes on. People don't realize what goes on behind the scenes. I'm always like,
Absolutely.
We need a video of this, of what goes on when we set up our shop to do our stories and those sorts of things. So I'm glad you got to kind of witness that, and thank you for that. And we get to sit in these nice, comfortable chairs today.
Yeah, they are comfortable.
Are you comfortable now? Because I know the verdict was still out a minute ago when I said, is your chair comfortable?
I am comfortable.
Good.
It's a nice, soft chair and feels good.
Good.
You might have to throw some cold water in my face if I tend to nod off.
Okay. Well, we'll try to not let that happen. Well, Rob, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
Sure.
Part of the purpose of the show is to tell the story of the people who live and work here. And you have lived here all of your life.
Right.
And so let's start off by talking about what you love about Greenville. And then we're going to talk about all these other fun things that you do. But let's talk about that first. What do you love about Greenville, Texas? And why have you never left?
Well, I would say that Greenville, Texas is the epitome of the small town, the epitome of the hometown, because, especially living here for as long as I have, it's just comfortable. You know so many people, and there are so many things about the city that, what's not to like? I mean, it's small town, everybody. I've already said that, but I keep coming back to that just as, in my radio career, I've left town a few times. I've worked in Tyler, Corpus Christi, and Sherman, but I keep coming back because it's comfortable and, hey, it's my hometown, as Springsteen would say.
I love that. So what year did you graduate?
Class of 1980.
Okay, now I learned a special fact about you that I didn't know. Over the weekend, you sent me a text and said, hey, my sister is Melinda Phillips, and I did not know that.
That's right. Yeah, my sister is Melinda Phillips, and I don't know. I like to say she got the looks in the family, so. but
and
anyhow,
the dancing techniques, too.
Yeah, that as well.
She's such a great dance instructor.
Oh, she's done it for so long.
She was part of Stardusters when my son was going through that, and she taught my daughter all types of ballet and tap and things like that at Studio A.
Oh, yeah, she's good at that.
She's really good. No, okay, so is she your younger sister, older sister?
Younger sister by about 2.5 years.
Okay, so you're her big brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was it like growing up as a child in Greenville, Texas?
Oh, it was everything I've mentioned before, you know your neighbors, the businesses, of course businesses come and go, and you know that as well as I do, but it's just that it's something that sometimes you don't really think about it, because it's Greenville, it's my hometown, I'm here, Greenville is here, so there we go. There you go.
Where was your favorite place to go when you were a kid in Greenville?
Well, one place I loved to go was the Texan Theater, and this is when it was a movie theater. I must have gone and seen the Adam West Batman movie at least a couple of dozen times there.
How fun. So it's cool to go back in there today now then to see how different it is.
It really is. Barbara's done an awesome job with it. it's a movie theater, it's a concert hall, it's so many things, and kudos to Barbara for what she's done with it.
Absolutely. It brought so much character and charm and just revitalized our downtown so much. So I'm so thankful to have it. But how cool to have that experience of knowing what it was like before and to see it today.
And to go back a little farther, when my dad was in high school in the 50s, he worked as an usher there. So we go back a little farther with the Texan.
Oh, how cool. Was it called the Texan back then too? Has it always been the Texan? Do you know?
Well, I think it's been under some other names in the past. I'm not sure if maybe they had a different name when Harry Houdini performed there back in the 1910s or 20s or whenever it was. But as far as my life and my experiences, it's always been the Texan.
Okay. Well, that's what it's always been in my lifetime too. So I thought, I've never asked that question. I should ask someone who knows, who's been there before.
Sure.
So we all know you as a radio guy and the man behind the microphone in the radio. What inspired you and made you want to get into the radio business?
Well, I think it was the idea of being a personality, even a celebrity, if you will. I can't really point to any one specific thing, but there have been instances when I was a kid, I would meet the local disc jockeys when they were out, like doing, live appearances and so forth. And I always thought, well, gee, that looks like a fun job. I may try to do that. And eventually I did. I went to East Texas State University and studied radio TV there. And to a degree, I found out that I could learn more about the business actually being in it than just being in a classroom studying about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. But I started out at KGVL. In fact, coming up on 40 years ago next month.
Really?
It's hard to believe, but...
So you've been on our local radio for 40 years.
Give or take. I've been in and out, like I mentioned, a few times, but I keep coming back.
Wow, that is incredible. So what was it like when you started?
Well, it was a lot different. You remember 45s.
Yes.
Don't you? We played 45s and LPs, and we'd often play records, and of course it's so much different from nowadays. You can just program a computer and let it run.
Right. So you were switching all that out then.
Oh yeah, I think just about every way you can run a radio station, I've been there and done that.
Which was your favorite era?
Oh my goodness, that's a little difficult to say and think of on the spur of the moment. And of course, that's the great thing about this program you're running here. It's on the spur of the moment. But I guess I could say my favorite era in radio was when I first started it. In fact, I'm the only one still out there who worked under Leo Hackney.
Oh, wow.
And he was just a great man, and he let me make some mistakes and learn from them, and he's just a great man, and I learned so much under him, and there have been so many ownership changes since then, but to me it's Leo Hackney and then everybody who's been around since.
And you are still there.
I am. They can't get rid of me.
Well, I don't think they want to get rid of you. Your voice is like our hometown, so you're an anchor here.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I probably outweigh most anchors, so you're supposed to laugh.
I'm supposed to laugh. I was like, wait, is he about to say something else?
No. Anyhow, yeah, I understand what you're saying, though, that I'm kind of an anchor of local radio. So
our local
I appreciate
news,
that.
Absolutely. Our local news, and just, I mean, when it's like if I don't look at you and I just hear your voice, then I'm like, I know exactly who you are. And so it's fun now to have a face with a voice. And,
you can put a face with a voice and get all that figured out.
Yes. And now when I see you in town, I'm going to know it's you. Do you ever have people who just turn around and are like, oh, wait, I know that voice?
Yeah, I go into places sometimes, and I'll place an order, and they'll say, "Oh, I know that voice. You're on the radio, aren't you?" And I go, "Yes, I am."
How
So
fun. Do you love that when they recognize your voice?
it's very gratifying when someone hears your voice and they say, "I hear you on the radio," and I go, "Well, I'm glad somebody does." And but we have a great radio station, KGVL, KIKT FM, and the people here in Greenville, they're just absolutely great. We have some of the most loyal listeners around.
We really do. It's
Yes.
always a station in my car. I always have it on there so I can
Good
click
for
over.
you.
Yes, I've gotten to come and be on the radio a couple of times, so that's a lot of fun too.
Yes, it is.
Do you like bringing guests on and letting them have that experience?
Yes, there have been times when we have a lot of guests. Sometimes we don't necessarily have guests, but whenever we have someone on, it's always good to pull back the curtain for them a little bit, let them see what it's really like on the radio and behind the scenes and in the studio.
Do you find that people sometimes have a hard time? They think they can get on and do it, and then they freeze up when they get in front of that microphone?
Well, yeah, I think you kind of find that with just about anything you do. There are the people who think, "Oh, that doesn't look so hard." Then they actually do it, and they go, "Oh, what was I going to say?"
Their mind just goes blank.
That happens. That
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not exactly what you think it is.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some of your favorite stories or some of your favorite guests that you've had on the show over the years as you were doing this?
Oh, golly. Of course, being a music radio station, we've had some music artists out there, country music artists primarily. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and we're probably going to get into this as we go along here. Some people from professional wrestling, because that's my big deal.
I want us to talk about that. So why don't we just go ahead and talk about it?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's do it. So tell us about your professional wrestling announcing thing that you love to do.
Well, I started in January of 1984. Through the radio station, I got in the ring and ring announced. That's where you get in the ring, you introduce the wrestlers, and then run like crazy.
Oh, I bet. How did you get into that?
Well, I was a fan just about my entire life. I grew up watching Fritz von Erich on black and white TV on Saturday nights on Channel 11.
Yes.
And when the opportunity came to ring announce, Kevin von Erich, one of Fritz's sons, was in the main event, and he came out to the radio station, and we did an interview with him, and we just had a great time.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet you were so excited.
And he was bigger than I thought he was, because he on Saturday nights I'd see him on TV against guys who are about the same size or bigger. Mm-hmm. Then he walks through the front door of the radio station, and it's like, oh my goodness.
So was he really tall then? Or just really built?
As far as his height, I think Kevin's about 6'2", 6'3", okay. And yeah, really built. He was a football player at North Texas State, and got into professional wrestling. And he and his brothers, they're just so built and made for the business, so to speak.
They were some of my favorites. My granddad loved to watch wrestling, and we'd have to watch that every Saturday night, and he loved the Von Erichs. So I can understand that passion for them and their talents.
And if I can just throw this in, the first time I worked in professional wrestling, the main event was Kevin Von Erich. Well, I've worked on a couple of shows since then. His two sons, Ross and Marshall, are a tag team, and I've worked with them a few times.
Really?
And also, Kerry Von Erich, another one of the brothers, one of Kevin's brothers, he has a daughter named Lacey, and I saw her down in East Texas a couple of months ago.
Oh, really? So are they still in the area then?
Well, Kevin's family, they all live in Hawaii.
Ah.
And I could go into details, but basically he picked up his family and moved them all to Hawaii. He and his wife and their kids and their grandkids and everybody.
How fun. That's not a bad place to take your family to.
No, it's not.
To be on the island. So how did you actually get the position of announcing for wrestling, though? Was there like an opening and you applied for it? Did someone contact you?
Well, again, going back to how I did it the first time here in Greenville, the station manager of the radio station, a gentleman by the name of Bob Slaughter, he worked with the Hunt County Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, and they were the ones who were sponsoring the wrestling show that was coming to town, and he gave me the opportunity to be the ring announcer. And aside from Melinda's wedding, that's the only time I ever wore a tuxedo. I thought, well, I got to do it upright, so I got to go rent a tuxedo.
Oh, wow. So you didn't buy one. You just rented it because you were thinking this is a one-time.
Yeah, just rented it.
Now, do you have to put a tuxedo on when you announce it now? And do you still announce the wrestling?
I haven't in a long time. I've got, I'll be honest with you, I've got some health concerns, and it's very difficult to climb into a wrestling ring now. But fortunately, over the years, I've made friends with a lot of people in the wrestling business. Some of the guys I used to watch on Channel 11, I'm friends with them on a first name basis, and let me just go ahead and put this out there. For all the work I've done in professional wrestling over the years, I'm in 3 professional wrestling halls of fame. I've received 3 Lifetime Achievement Awards, and it's probably going to happen before people get the chance to see our program here, but May 1st, I'm being honored at an event in Fate where they're bringing in about 40 or 50 wrestlers for a meet and greet and a wrestling show, and I'm being honored for my contributions to wrestling, so there you go.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
That is.
So that became more than just a hobby, but you seems like you loved it like a hobby.
Yeah, I enjoy doing it, and I've met some really great people in the professional wrestling business, and I'm just so glad they've all accepted me as one of their own, and I think that's the main thing, because I grew up watching it on TV, and like for instance, a few times I've been to the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum in Wichita Falls.
Ah.
And I go to the big gatherings there, and I walk around and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And that's just great. I love that.
That's really cool. So where are all the Hall of Fames? Like the ones where you're up, where your pictures are up and you're recognized?
Okay, the ones that I'm a part of, there's one called the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame, and another, the North American Wrestling Allegiance Hall of Fame, and the Offshoots Network. It's a podcast network. They've put me in their Hall of Fame as well. And the Lifetime Achievement Awards. I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Offshoots, and also one from Professional Championship Wrestling, which at one time was on UPN 21.
Oh, wow.
On Saturday nights, and they had shows every week in Arlington, and I became the play-by-play announcer for them, and so I was able to do that. And
is that hard to do? I mean, I just think about some of these matches and the things that were going on. And
yeah, I think it really helped me that I went into wrestling with a little bit of broadcasting experience. So once you get the broadcasting experience, then when you get into wrestling, you're able to combine the two.
Right. Because you have to understand the sport.
You have to understand, and I think to a degree you have to be a fan of it to be able to really convey what it is that they're trying to do in the ring. And yes, it's entertainment. It's not quite a sport like the NFL, but it's a form of entertainment, and the guys who are really good at it, it's almost like you can't tell whether they're, beating each other up for real or not. But
It was a long time before I realized that it wasn't for real. When I was a kid watching it, it really looked like it was real, and they would get the chairs out and it would just get intense.
yeah.
So were you ever afraid when you were getting in that ring that you were going to get hit with something, and did you ever get hit? Did you ever get knocked over or anything?
Well, it never really crossed my mind for the longest time, but there was one incident where I got in the ring to do an interview with a wrestler, and he said his thing, and I said, well, good luck, and I turned to walk away, and his deal was he was trying to set the record for the most pinfalls in one night, so he rolled me up from behind, and he had a referee with him, count of 1, 2, 3, and I come to find out later that when he pulled me down, my right foot caught on the mat and turned sideways about 90 degrees, and broke my fibula.
Oh, no.
So I had to wear a boot for about a month and a half.
Oh, no.
Of course, the guy just apologized up, down, and sideways, and I go, hey, it's part of the business.
That's right. Well, now you have a cool story.
Yes, I do.
And you get to remember you wore a boot and had to heal from that.
That's right, I still have the boot.
Oh, that's fun. So you're getting ready to go be recognized in Fate. What else do you have coming up? Do you have anything else coming up?
Well, let me think for a minute. Recently, I've been affiliated with a wrestling group called SWE Fury. SWE stands for Southwest Wrestling Entertainment, and they're on national television. They're on CW33, and they're on stations and on the internet across the nation and really around the world. They honored me, in fact, at a show here in Greenville back in December with an award, a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it was really nice. It was in the 6th grade center gym, which was the same place where I got in the ring for the first time when I met Kevin Von Erich in the ring. So
how cool is that?
That was very cool of them to do that for me.
Wow, you have accomplished so much. And who knew when you started out all those years ago that you would accomplish all of this?
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's really special you're getting to reap that recognition now. A lot of times people don't get to have that experience until it's too late sometimes. So
that's right.
I love that you're getting those opportunities and, and being thanked for your service and for what you've put into it.
Yeah.
So we have just a few more minutes. What are some things that maybe that you personally enjoy doing? What are some other hobbies, other things that you enjoy?
Well, let's see. Well, first thing I want to say is I enjoy watching professional wrestling on TV, DVDs, and tapes and so forth. But I enjoy music, and I like something of every kind of music. So it's not like I'm listening to one over another. But I enjoy listening to music. And
when you go home, do you listen to something other than country, since that's what's on the station all the time?
I guess it depends on what I can find on the radio or on the TV or so forth. But I don't really have much of a preference. Well, I kind of do. I love music from the 70s because that was my era I grew up in. So I enjoy the 70s music, and I do like a little bit of disco.
Oh, did you get out on the disco floor?
No.
You have any stories about that, Rob?
No, I do not. I appreciate you trying, but no, I don't really have any disco stories.
No disco stories. You just like the music.
I like the music, yeah.
That's fun. So I'm just going to ask this random question.
Sure.
What do you want to be remembered for?
That is a good question, but as far as what I want to be remembered for, I think the big thing is I want to be remembered for being good at what I did, and for as we're sitting here, I'm trying to formulate that into words because basically I want people to know that I gave it everything I had.
Mm-hmm. And you certainly have. And
Thank
you would
you.
not be receiving the recognition and awards if you had not.
That's true. I mean, I would get behind the microphone on Saturday nights or whenever and do the best I knew how.
That's right. And that's all that we can ask for, is someone gives it their best. Okay, Rob, you have this stuff that you know that I don't know. So is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you thought I would ask you that you want to talk about?
Well, let's see. We've covered the radio business.
We did do that.
We've covered the wrestling business,
Yes.
and
We covered what you like about Greenville.
what I like about Greenville. Yeah, it's good old small town.
That's right.
Yeah, and apart from all that, I'm sure I'll probably come up with something in about an hour or two from now. But
Well, you can call and tell me that. You can call and tell me that story, the one that we should have put on, but we didn't.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you your last question then. So I need for you to pick a number between 1 and 20, and this is going to be your final question.
Final question. Okay. Well, I'm going to go Beatles here. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9.
Number 9. If you could time travel, where would you go and why?
Where would I go and why? Oh my. Time traveling. Strangely enough, the first thing that popped in my head had nothing to do with wrestling, nothing really to do with radio, except off on a tangent. But I think something I would like to do if I could time travel is go back to. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the February 9th, 1964 edition of the Ed Sullivan Show and see the Beatles.
Ah, okay. So you want to go back and see them live in person?
I want to go sit in that crowd with all those crazy screaming girls and and watch the live American debut of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That I think that would be awesome.
That would be really cool. Well, Rob, thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with me and sharing your story and sharing what you love about Greenville.
Well, thank
It's
you.
been such a pleasure to get to meet you and in person. Now that I've heard your voice pretty much all my life. Now that I know you've done this for nearly 40 years, that's pretty much all of my life. So that's why I do know your voice. But
Yeah, and sitting here talking, my voice feels kind of rough, and I'm sure it probably sounds a little rough, but it happens.
no, it sounds great. It sounds like
thank
Rob.
you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to seeing you around town.
All right, you're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.